You're listening to More Than Reports, and I'm your host, Paul B. Felix.
In today's episode, Paul and Alex explore how the data team is more important than the technology itself. They discuss keeping the team focused, ensuring everyone benefits from the data work. And Paul shares his thoughts on the growing role of people in data and reporting.
So, Paul, our company decided to embark on a effort to improve our use of data. So let's do a systems project, an IT project, but let's do a data project. And the first thing that comes to people's minds is, oh, cool, let's evaluate some technology, right? Let's pick a system. There's always something exciting out there. Hopefully AI is doing something for us already there. New functionality. And I'm personally just like that. Whenever I get a chance to see something new, I'll get excited, and I think it's part of it. But, as time passes, it's becoming more and more clear to me. Sure, we can enjoy the process of evaluating the technology. But at the end of the day, there's always that concern with, are we going to be successful with this project? Is this going to give the organization what it's setting out to do? And the truth is, IT projects frustrate so many people. They take longer, they may cost more if they don't just fail altogether. So there's always this very strong central component of risk when you're saying, well, let's make an investment. Are we going to get the return? And why do we start with the technology? Because, we have this tendency to go look at systems and products. And to me, very clearly, that's becoming more and more secondary. And what is really at the center of what needs to happen is the people. It's how we organize ourselves, how we communicate. What has your experience been?
I totally agree. If we're talking about what is the main component of success, it's not technology. It is the people. It's the data team.
Right.
The technology is, I would say, for the most part, a commodity today, with a couple of exceptions I would call out. Like if you have a company that's got, extreme analytical needs for real-time analytics with, petabytes of data, maybe there's a situation where you're going to have a more challenging tooling or a more limited set of tooling that's going to be able to accomplish the mission. But for the 99% of companies out there, this is not a problem anymore. Tooling, commodity tooling, which is very economical today, by the way, can accomplish the mission quite easily. That makes it where more people can work on the platform, right? You got a wealth of people that understand these tools. Anyway, tooling's not the problem. Completely agree. It is all about the team. The team is what's going to determine success.
And still, we can fail just as badly as we did in the past when tooling was expensive.
Yes.
And failure is a pretty heavy word, but let's confront it. I don't think we should dance around it or avoid it. I think that's what we're trying to avoid as organizations. It's very demoralizing for the entire team to see, hey guys, we're going to do this. And at the end, say, did we really do that? Oh no, we set out in the wrong direction. Let's backtrack. And there is not only that, psychological impact. There's the financial one. Since the tooling now is not expensive, the systems are so much more affordable. Labor is still a very precious resource, right? It's expensive to employ people. So more and more people or business leaders are very cautious when they make decisions to employ individuals and bring them on board. People tend to struggle with that. Sometimes it's the economic cycle. So that, I think, puts at the very center of the discussion, what's the best way to organize people for success with data projects, as opposed to now that technology is not the issue anymore. And my first thought is direction, clarity of vision. Do you agree with that or not?
Absolutely. I mean, no data team can be successful without first having a clear charter of what they're trying to accomplish. If you just tell a data team, hey, go out there and build a data warehouse and a business intelligence solution, if you define success as their ability to build a data warehouse and a business intelligence solution as a whole, they're successful. They will be successful. But if you define success as, hey, we're trying to add value for an organization by solving a problem, making something run more efficiently, automating something that was previously manual, getting more out of the resources we already have, and hopefully when we're defining that goal, we're also saying this is worth this much money. This is how much value we're actually trying to capture per year, per month, what have you. When you define success in that way, well, now failure is a lot more, I guess, possible, right? Because now we're saying, data team, this is what we're trying to accomplish. Yes, there's a technical component to this thing, and we're pretty sure that, most of the time, the team should be able to overcome the technical challenge. But success is not just overcoming the technical challenge and delivering something. Success is actually capturing that value. So if you don't have the vision, the leadership vision up front to tell us what are we trying to accomplish, and where is that line that we call success, then we're going to fail for sure. It has to be there. That's priority one. Identify the value, communicate the value, write it down. What are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah, interesting. So what I think you were describing there, proposing, is usually people think of the data team within, they're part of the IT group. They may report to a CIO, to someone that has an IT title to their job. But they're slightly different. I try now to think of them compared to the traditional software developer, someone that goes there and builds some system that will perform a certain well-defined task. Data is so different. Data is that team, if you put it in IT, which normally it is, you want to open the doors and have this very frequent traffic, this very intimate dialogue with the data team, between the business and the data team. They have to be, I would almost go as far as saying they need to sit together or close enough where they can collaborate and talk about what they're trying to do together, as opposed to shipping requests and expecting deliverables by a certain date.
Right.
It's very characteristic of the data work that it iterates, that it tries, and it's okay to fail as many times as needed until you land on where the business needs it to be. So that brings to my mind the concept of a organizational culture around data. You might call that a data culture, where not only the data team is reaching out to the business, but the business is comfortable talking to the data team at a level they can understand each other really, really well. So what do you think of this concept, data culture? What would that be, if that makes any sense at all to you?
It does. And I want to touch on that other point about the difference between application development and what data teams are doing.
Right.
Because that is, I think, a common, I guess, misunderstanding, or just something that's not understood fully. When you're building an application, you can think of it as a project, right? You can say, okay, hey, I need this application, software application, to be able to accomplish A, B, and C. Great. I can create a roadmap for that thing. I know what needs to be done. I know, what tooling I'm going to use. And when I'm done and I build it, I put this thing in production and it just runs. People just use it over and over and over again. Maybe at some point down the road, you need an enhancement to it and you go back through that cycle again. But generally, the software is the software, unless there's going to be a major revision. On the data side of things, it is absolutely not a project. It is a living, fluid business function, and it absolutely has to be thought of that way. Yes, there are goals that we're trying to accomplish, and we might accomplish that goal and capture that value. But as soon as you do, just from the very nature of what we're trying to accomplish here, there is going to be another goal. The goalpost has to continuously move, or else the organization is not growing or not changing. It's stagnant, and a worse situation exists there. So I think that's really, really key. I use the word project sometimes when we're talking about these things as well, and that probably has the wrong connotation. It is a business function, I think is one thing there. But on the data culture concept, I think there's two schools of thought here. You can have the data czar, who is responsible for going out and figuring out, or maybe the CIO, or whatever people call it in the organization. This person will be responsible for finding those opportunities. Okay, where can we apply well-prepared analytics and improve the business? Some of it's no-brainer stuff. We call it the monitoring reports. Executives need to have the gauges so they can understand where the business is, tracking to goals, just basic monitoring of all the different functions of a business. That's no-brainer stuff. You have to have it. And you could define the value there as well in a lot of different ways. You can say, well, we've got all this leadership team here, or even individual contributors. We're paying them a salary. How much more effective could they be if they actually had the information to do their job without guessing, and they can have better outcomes? So you could quantify that. The other method would be, like what you said, the data culture, where the whole organization has a data culture. So everybody in the organization is empowered to look at their own business processes, or the business processes that they're involved in, and just be critical of those processes. How can we make those processes better? Where can we inject analytics to make this process run more smoothly, or automate this step, or improve the quality of the outcome? When everybody has that mentality, then things tend to progress a lot quicker, because you're not dependent on one person to go identify the opportunities. You have everybody in the organization that's empowered with identifying opportunities, bringing those to the maybe centralized work group that's going to prioritize these opportunities we're going after. And then just one after another, the data team now knows, hey, today we're working for the finance group. The finance group needs to automate this booking process of some kind. We need data from here and here, and these business rules need to be applied, and it needs to be delivered to here. Maybe this isn't even a report, right? Maybe this is actually a data feed, or even reverse ETL. There's all kinds of ways of using your data to actually accomplish the mission. But I think that type of a process I've seen work a lot better when you actually have a broad data culture in your organization.
But that puts the burden on both sides, and it's always going to be like that. But let's focus on the burden on the data team itself. You now need to converse with the business. I'm really good with ETL. I'm really good with SQL. Well, you need to be good with business too. You need to be good with interpreting reality. So there has been this shift towards, there's this emerging discipline. I guess I would call that data science, right? And when I talk to data scientists, they seem to be very good with looking at reality. They have a good stats background usually, but usually you don't do data team with a data scientist. Actually, they're pretty rare still. A data team is much more than that, just someone that can do stats. More commonly, you need someone with a very broad set of skills. And what would those be if you need someone that not only understands the systems? So yeah, I can move data. I need to transform data so that that the data can make sense for the business. I need to present data. So maybe I need a little bit of front end skill. But now you want me to understand the business as well. I need to understand economic value. I need to understand P&Ls. I need to understand profitability. Yes, I mean, most systems people can do that, but it's very different with data, because that's a very ongoing conversation. It's not like you can come and say, sign here. This is what you want me to build, and I'll get back to you when I have it done. And I'll show you, this is what you asked me to do, and this is what I have built for you. Data is not like that, is what I think we're both agreeing with. And still, you have to have all those technical skills. So how do you set up that team, right? Who do you put there? When you look, I'm going to hire I'm going to build one. It's clear to me as a leader in this organization that we should make investments here. Let's get people to help us. Let's set that up. All right, so this is what I want to do, and I'm going to give you my business description of that. And the person sounds like they're good at that. Will they also be good at connecting to transactional systems, writing API calls, and all of that? What are the challenges there that we have seen?
Yeah, there's a lot to that one, Alex. It kind of gets into what are the roles, right? So let's just talk about that. What are the roles of a
Right.
data team? We've talked about the first one, and that's the leadership. The organization as a whole needs to be a part of the data team. They're driving the goal line here for the data team. But the other roles, first of all, for the one that you're talking about, the business analyst. The business analyst is responsible for understanding the business needs, probably documenting the business needs, requirements, and then relaying that to the data team in such a way that it can be translated into a technical specification for what needs to be built. That particular role, which, by the way, when I say roles, this may not be different people. Often people can hold numerous
Right.
roles, right? So if there's, if
Right.
there's
It's a function. It's a function.
that's
Right?
probably a better word. I don't want to leave the impression
Right.
that you have to hire, 10 different people,
One
right?
individual.
Yeah. But it's not,
Because there's a lot of
there's a
functions.
lot of functions, right? So you have let's just go through a few of them. So you got the business analyst. That's the person that's going to actually take in those business requirements, understand the opportunity. And then you've got the architect. This is the person that's going to, look at those requirements and decide the overall solution. How are we going to actually implement this from a technical perspective? And then you have all the.
So this is someone that needs to understand. This is someone that needs to understand systems.
Now we're on the
right?
technical side.
Well.
That's right. You probably have a good
Right.
understanding of business as well, but this is generally the technical focus side now. The business analyst is, in my view, kind of the intermediary between pure business people and the technical team. And so, but as soon as we get past the business analyst, we're generally talking to IT people. The architect here is going to be an IT guy or gal. Then you're going to have all the different functions. Someone's going to need to do system of record research to go find the data that's needed to actually solve this problem. Then you're going to have an ETL developer, right? You need someone that's actually going to move data from that system of record into whatever we're building. You're going to need, quality assurance to make sure things are actually validating. Report authors, potentially. You may even need API developers. So there's a lot of different not business functions, but technical functions involved in that data team. But that first step of consuming the business requirement and getting that into a technical spec. I think my light just went out here. That's okay. We'll go without it. Getting it into a technical spec is the business analyst role.
So it's a very broad set of skills. That's pretty challenging, right? I mean, think you have people that need to, and we use the word role, we use the word function, but I'm now thinking of the word skill, right? I need to be able to, and when I say we, the data team, we need to be able to talk to the business and understand, not just being able to collect the requirement, to understand why, right? Because you need to be sort of at the same level so that you can process and justify even to yourself and your team why certain pieces of logic need to be done, right? So certain reports, et cetera, et cetera. That's one. Number two, you need people with technical skills. They need to understand how systems connect, how one component goes to the next. And that's a second one. And then, there's more downstream from that, right? I mean, you may need people that understand how to represent, to put visualizations in place and build visualizations and reports. And all of that needs to be organized and managed. Someone to oversee that and make sure that we're tracking right. Did I miss any key functions there? I think I might have.
Yeah, there's probably a dozen more in there, depending on how much you want to segment things. Like you could have UX people. They're going to make sure that the actual report is user-friendly from the design standpoint. QA, right? You got to have people that are going to do validation. There's probably more roles in there. There are more roles in there, depending on how much you're going to segment this. But I think one thing we should mention, Alex, is that especially for the mid-market, right? We're talking, the market we serve is the mid-market, mainly the mid-sized businesses and even small businesses. Excuse me. It's not possible for most companies this size to go out and hire a whole data team. right? They're not going to be able to hire a business analyst, a data architect, a plumber or an ETL developer, or all of these different functions. It would cost, $1 million plus in recurring operating cost to bring these people in. So that's not going to happen. So how do they accomplish this? Well, they have the different ways of accomplishing it. Sometimes it basically falls on one person in an organization to go out and serve all of these roles, frankly. Right? They're going to be the one taking in the requirements. They're going to be the one to decide how it's going to be built. They're going to be the ones building it. They're going to be the ones testing it. They're going to be the ones training on it. One person could conceivably do it all for some organizations. Nevertheless, though, all of these functions are going to have to be in place. Whether it's one person doing them or 10 people doing them, they're all critical.
Well, I can't get past the point that the fact that I think you described a pretty challenging situation for mid-sized organizations, growing companies. It's a ton of skills required to do a job that, I think visionary leaders can't ignore. You need to understand how the world around you is moving, and for that you need to gather data. You need to compile a lot of information. Back in the day, we read the papers every day. Literally, everybody said, "What's happening in the world?" It's coming much closer today. There's so many more points of contact, and all of that. Those that are winning the competition are those that are very good and adept at gathering that to spot trends, to spot outliers. So, well, back to my newspaper. If you're reading it today, whatever version you choose, the success stories are those that do data. I don't want to glorify those that have been successful, and that's not what I mean at all. But take a company such as Amazon. It is a giant data operation on very thin margins. It completely transformed retailing. Now, forget retailing at the scale of Amazon. Let's go to small organizations that are distributing financial products, healthcare organizations, regional banks. These are at whatever their scale is, pools of data waiting to be tapped into, where you can see really what the opportunity is for that business in highly competitive industries. So it is on leaders now to, I guess, solve what is a pretty tricky problem. How do I get people to help me gather data and make better decisions? And with all those skills,
Right.
okay, I think we agree we need all of those, and there are multiple ways of solving that problem. Now you have them. How do you organize yourself for success? And when I say organize, not just collecting the skills or putting them together. How do you run the process? What is the day-to-day of successful organizations or organizations that successfully manage data teams that are effective? Organization or organizing and managing and running a data team, Paul. I think it's a good one for us to consider.
Yeah, that's probably going to be like 10 other episodes to get through all of that, but maybe we just touch it on a high level here. If we start with, okay, we've got a team in place, whether that's, one person internal or we've got a fractional data team like we offer, whatever the case is, now you have to have the processes in place to be sure that team is doing the right things, accomplishing the mission, capturing the value ultimately that the organization is trying to go after. That requires a lot. It requires, from a very detailed level, task tracking, right? You've got to track the task. Where are we at in the process of actually accomplishing this thing? That's actually a pretty big part of it, is communicating where you are at this process, because it's not like we're doing one thing as a data team. Usually we're working for the finance team, we're working for the marketing team, we're working for the operational team. Each has their own opportunities they're going after, and the data team is working on all of these at various stages at any point in time. So setting up a communication process, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here, that makes it very clear where all of these tasks are at any point in time is critical. We use Kanban boards, is how we do it, which is exactly that. It's basically swim lanes that allow you to move cards between swim lanes and communicate the current responsible party, where the task is in the development process and so on. But there's other ways of doing it. Whatever it is, you need a way of doing it, clearly communicating where you are in the process.
That was a good point. The first thing is, why task organization? Well, I can tell you what I want, but I won't be doing it with you. And there is a client vendor of sorts, relationship, a provider or supplier and client relationship of sorts between people building things and people that are ultimately going to use that. And having systems that provide the maximal visibility to everybody involved is really important to make sure there's no frustration. That's one. I want to add another one, quality, right? How many times do I have to ask it until I get it right? How do we improve quality, Paul? What is your take and experience around quality?
Involvement on a as often a basis as possible. It's not like the business should go to the data team, tell them once, hey, I need this, and they go build it. And when they're done, they say, okay, it's ready. Now you can use it. That nearly never works. And it doesn't work because of a number of things. First of all, the person that's making the request likely doesn't have all the information they need to provide accurate requirements at that point in time. The data team, as they try to implement something, is going to discover things about data that need business input. So it is a collaborative thing that happens here. Yes, it does start with defining the goal. Yes, it does start with some basic business requirements and possibly business rules, but it is a learning process. There is no start today, I'm finished tomorrow, deliver it to you, now we're done. It's going to be collaborative. And when you talk about quality, that's where it's at. Is whether you're working with a accountant or you're working with a whatever, an operational person or whoever it is in the organization, it is important that they are involved with the data team, not looked at as a separate entity per se, because they are crucial to the success of capturing that particular value that we're going after.
That's a good point. Yeah, they are also part of the data team. They are, a business component within the data team, right?
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Yeah, I want to wrap. We covered how we organize ourselves and in the workflows, the tasks, how we improve quality, and I want to finish with a quick conversation around, in the end, it is a system, and systems just crash. Sometimes they don't show up for work. You can go on a website and it freezes. Your computer reboots, and it's the day of a very important meeting, and leadership is there, and a report doesn't show up. We've seen that so many times, right?
Yep.
And that is resilience. What can the data team do to improve the resilience of their systems? We're talking the report, but it's the whole chain. From the very beginning all the way to the end, nothing can fail because these bits of information will show up at very critical junctures there. What can the data team do to improve that?
Well, I'll tell you the rule we have is anything we build has to be monitored. If it's in production and someone is using some feature of any kind, data feed, report, whatever, if it's in production, it has to be monitored. And there's another role, fault management. How do you do that? Well, you've got to have processes in place that are looking for evidence of success or failure. Hopefully those are automated processes. You're going to end up with hundreds of these, but you're looking for indications of success and failure. And when you have a failure, there's got to be ongoing monitoring. Someone at the end of the day has to be on call or even readily available or watching the process, whatever you're going to set up. But someone has got to be there to respond to every failure that is ultimately going to happen, because there's a cascading array of dependencies in these systems. That's just the nature of it. Doesn't mean they have to be fragile. It just means that they are not ever going to be 100%, because you're not in control of all of the dependencies that are at play. everything from someone entering an unexpected value into a source system to, like you mentioned, power outages, to an array of other things could happen. And the last thing we want is for something to be used in production without it being accurate or current. So fault management, monitoring of production processes is critical.
And there you have it. We talked today about the importance of data teams, how they commingle and coexist within a very strong business environment. That is, business drives the conversation. It requires a multitude of skills, and those are critical. You cannot ignore any single one of them. And once you have that in place, it will only work if the team organizes itself well around strong business processes, task management, quality management, to make sure whatever we are outputting there withstands the test of real business users going at it, and ultimately availability. It has to be there all the time, whenever it's needed. So for all of those, thought and careful deliberation is required, is it not, Paul?
Absolutely. It takes time. It is a journey, but I think on a positive note, any organization can do this. You're not, this is not a new road. We've been successful many, many times. We know how to be successful, and any organization can benefit from that because it's already been done. We know how to do it. It's just a matter of stacking the deck in your favor, if you will, so that you're going to actually capture that value that we're going after.
All right. Thanks again. See you next time.
All right. Take care.
Thanks again for listening. We hope you liked the discussion. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. Our contact information is in the podcast description below. See you next time.